Todd Archer wrote the piece with key returnees, Cowboys looking for a second-year jump on defense under Dan Quinn. And I want to know how possible you think this is, that the Cowboys defense overall could actually be better this year as compared to last year. So let's talk about that. Truckwreck.com fan text is open at 877-881-1053. And here's a fun fact to get you kick-started. Dan Quinn's teams have made it to the Super Bowl in his second year in Seattle and Atlanta. So, look at this. Second year with the Cowboys. Yeah. Could he help push the team over the top from that side of the ball so much that they become a contender despite maybe the offense being as frustrating as it was last year, Brian?
It'll be interesting to see how he navigates the right defensive end. It'll be interesting to see if he can get health from his left defensive end and maybe the defensive tackle who he was missing last year. Will he come up with a more creative plan, an even further creative plan for his linebacker Micah Parsons to rush? What's he going to get out of Jabril Cox is a big question I have right now. And then will Boss Man Fat be at cornerback in one of these roles? Maybe, initially he might be a dime player. Can he take away the opportunity? Can he replace maybe Anthony Brown? Maybe make Anthony Brown have to go play nickel. They kick Jordan Lewis out of the mix. They've got some guys that that have some questions about them. I'm fascinated to see what happens with the defenses in this draft, because to me, when you just look at, say, 30 visit guys, it doesn't appear like they're going to go after any first-round guys with the exception of that defensive tackle.
Okay, so how do they get better? You lose Randy Gregory. Yeah. You're not spending the one.
Right.
You have about 4 or 5 guys who could play better, and maybe Parsons.
Yeah.
I mean, can Parsons be even better? I think he could at stand-up linebacker.
He absolutely could. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. They're going to have to come up, him, George Edwards, those guys are going to have to come up with some creative ways of doing that. I mean, you got basically your safeties all intact there. So that
Hooker could be better a year separated.
Absolutely.
Could he become a playmaker consistently?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. You play him at free and let him have a little bit more range to him. And then you've also got, with Curse, Stephen Jones was hinting around that the linebacker situation. Now he's like, don't forget we have Curse, and if you, like I said, the only real true linebacker, first round linebacker, again, the 30 visits was Lloyd from Utah. Yeah. So they're looking for maybe some guys, maybe not they're looking at that first round guy, but maybe there's a second or third round guy that could come and help. But for Quinn, I don't think he's going to get as much help defensively in this draft. When I mean first round help, maybe not even second round help. Could see this group going offensive line or wide receiver, something like that, some combination. And then, okay, Dan, let's take a pick here and see what you got. And that could help him though. That one guy, I mean, Dan Quinn's proven he can evaluate these guys, and maybe he picks the right guy.
I think it's got to come from the defensive line if we're going to get a push, and maybe Osa and Gallimore are better, and I think they've flashed at times to suggest that is possible. They're definitely still young enough, but I think I'd be surprised if the defense is better than last year. I mean, they were close to top 5 in a lot of different metrics, and a lot of it was due to how many takeaways they forced.
It was amazing how in the second half of the season, though, that Dallas had the struggles on offense, and that defense just held up.
Yeah.
It didn't fall apart, and I mean, like I say, I think if you look at the focus for Dan, he's looking at it as like, guys, I know I'm not going to get a bunch of draft picks, so I've got to make the guys that I got last year better.
Okay, so for a group of players year 2 with a new coach, how much better is their understanding? Could there be a team football IQ benefit?
This is where you don't need, this is why you brought in Keanu Neal. So Keanu Neal was going to be able to explain to everybody what's going on. Like the guys when there was questions in the defense, and Dan, but I'll say this, Dan came in with a different plan. So there was some carryover from some of the things he had done with Atlanta and in Seattle and other places, but he came in with the idea of like, I'm going to play to your strength. So adding a guy like Keanu Neal was able to kind of fill in a little of the Atlanta blanks. But everything else, Dan was like, listen, I'm going to play to your strengths here. And that's what he really, really did. So, You don't need, in the second year, you don't need people to explain what the defense and what the scheme is going to do. Okay. Everybody's pretty much on pace for what they need to do.
424, no, this is the Cowboys. There are no Super Bowl appearances. Okay.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I think it'd be a long shot coming up this year. Maybe I should have phrased it like, can the defense just be better without any additional qualifiers? 214, ha, 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 they will not be as good this year. They lucked out with turnovers, not sustainable. Why are you laughing, though, 214?
Turnovers are things you create. You create turnovers. You create turnovers by being in position. You create turnovers by, being able to finish. You laugh at turnovers, but turnovers are something if you go to every single NFL training camp, you will watch them working on drills to knock the ball loose. So there's players that just naturally have that ability to knock a ball loose, to recover it, to put themselves in position. If you that's other teams. That's forcing mistakes. That's pressure. Maybe pressure forces interceptions. We saw that in the Carolina game. Sam Darnold gets hit in the face. What happens? He throws the ball in the middle of the field, and Diggs is standing right there in coverage and makes the interception and brings it back. Those are things you create because of positioning and then your work to get there and make it happen.
Yeah, they've really emphasized it. I do think they're going to be top 10 in takeaways still.
It's something that, again, it's not luck. I don't think it's luck because I think that you force teams into mistakes.
Sure.
And they were one of the top teams in the league last year when it came to pressure.
Randy was a big part of that.
He was. And what you also have to look at, though, too, is that Dorrance Armstrong only had one less sack than Randy. So, okay, you get Armstrong on the arrow up. Say you do. He signed, you get him on the arrow up, but then Fowler. That's, to me, is kind of the wild card right there. Are you going to get something out of Fowler, or are you going to draft one of these defensive ends? Are you going to get Sam Williams from Ole Miss? Somehow does he end up at 56? You get Sam Williams, you plug him in, he plays, and then you get the pressure. And then you got a player that might be better than Randy. That's what you got to do. You got to figure out what's going on there at right end.
214, I would love to be wrong about this next season, but I think the Cowboys already made some big mistakes. Okay, 214, they let go of key factor players. Just one on defense. Just one, and that's Randy Gregory. And what Brian was just talking about, it's doable. Yeah. Dorrance Armstrong is significantly better than he was in his first 3 years. Fowler had a successful 2021, and they still have the draft. They could find something.
Yep.
254, can Deshaun Wright play? I'm not considering him as the players that I'm looking for to build a case that the defense is going to be better. If he plays better, I'll be surprised.
He had a big role in what was going on with special teams. He had the one recovery, and then he had the one where the ball touched him and went beyond the line of scrimmage, that kind of thing, that they recovered off that. But, to me, like I say, I'm not banking on him. I'm banking on what I know with the other corner from Kentucky. I'm banking on him being better for this football team.
Well, here's what's so disappointing to me about this, that you let Randy Gregory go, because kind of the premise is, could this defense be so good that it can offset that your offense is going to be worse? I thought with Randy Gregory that was possible.
Sure.
The reason they were able to hold the line so strong last year was because that trio of Randy, Tank, and Micah Parsons was terrifying to deal with.
Yeah.
Just about the only thing teams could do was run. And then, as we showed against the 49ers, they had answers for that as well. And Micah Parsons was a big part of that. Jaron Kearse was a big part of that, but they had it figured out. But all of that comes from the fact that if you do decide to drop back and pass, you had 3 Banshees coming after you, and they let that walk over some guaranteed language money that they want in all their contracts, but they've never exercised it in any contract. So that's something really, that's a weird hill to die on, as they say.